Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're consuming this broadcast. Welcome back to Ionisms, a simple, straight talk, slow burn, solo podcast, no great guests here. In this podcast, we talk about movies, cricket, pets, and a little bit of geopolitics. As always, I pick up a couple of interesting events that have happened over the course of the week or so and share some simple thoughts as a layperson. Disclaimer: none of the content that you hear in this episode or in the entire podcast channel is strictly personal. It does not reflect any affiliation, endorsement, agreement with any of the professional engagements I've had in the past, present, or future. And take it in the right spirit, right? It's a personal hobby, and I'm trying to share some of the thoughts in all the noise that is there, and there is an audience for that. So thank you for subscribing to Ionisms. With that, let's jump right into today's episode. In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about something very delicate, something very sensitive, something uh, which has divided the country in many ways. And I urge you to remain as neutral, as objective as possible. I don't know if there are any solutions in near sight, but at least it's important to address both sides of the story, as always is the case in ionisms that I try and address. There are three sides of, or three versions to the story: your version, my version, and the truth. And to see if we can come to a neutral ground of agreement, if not engagement. And it's okay if you agree to disagree and move on. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the situation in the Supreme Court's suo moto order on 11th of August aimed at protecting the people of Delhi and NCR region from the menace of stray dogs, which understandably led to massive outrage across the country where dog lovers and activists immediately swung into action and saying, wow, how could you make this happen? And I think I particularly uh, got wind of Miss Maneka Gandhi's commentary, which says, "How? Where are the shelters to remove? Where will you put all the dogs? Are there enough shelters?" And that was a very valid argument. So, in today's episode, I'm going to touch a little bit about from a everyday, person standpoint, from a ordinary citizen standpoint, who is experiencing both sides of the story. And so, to do that, I kind of classified um, the the people into two or three buckets. The bucket, and each has got its pros and cons, their point of view, and the stuff they agree and the stuff they disagree. And by the end of it, hopefully, I'm trying to give you a neutral view of both sides of the story. So bear with me on that. So what are the classifications, right? So let's start with, at the top, a simple division, right? That of people who love animals and people who don't. Now, immediately there is a well, you don't love animals. What are you talking about? It's a, and I'm not going to go into statistics and numbers that you can read on online and everything. I'm just talking about from the human angle to the story. Yes, you should love all living beings, but strictly speaking, can I mandate you for that? No, I can't mandate you to love all animals, right? And in this case, to point dogs. If you don't like dogs, you don't like dogs. Majority of the people are scared. We know of people who won't enter the same elevator, even if there is a small, tiny puppy in someone's hand, saying, "Oh my God, I cannot." Then there are religious connotations in many communities where they think it's hurts their religious sentiments to pet a dog and everything, and dog, cat, whatever. So in this context, I'm just going to keep it to dogs. Um, and so the point being, the set of people who don't like animals, especially dogs, for those who do love animals and dogs, uh, how should they react? Right? How should they behave? I think as a matured, sensitive, um, dog-loving person, and just as a disclaimer, I'm a pet parent myself, a first timer, but my extended family has been pet parents for multi generations. But for me, it's the first time. So my experience has been, I was little apprehensive that I didn't know how I would react to having a pet, because it's not like a project, it's like a way of life, which means how I would just go out for a drive or do a lot of things, on say a weekend, say unplanned. Now a lot of things need to be planned better, thought through, and all that. So I was apprehensive from that standpoint. But as is the oldest cliche in the book, once you have a dog, you inevitably fall in love, and you develop a sense of belonging over a period of time, and so on and so forth. But back to our conversation of those people who don't like dogs, and you're living in a society, community, apartment complex, what have you, condominium. uh, how should dog lovers react to that? Like, the first things first, it's okay if people don't love dogs, right? I'm not asking you to go give them a hug, but you don't vilify them either. And I'll come to that. There is a disclaimer to that. As long as they're not cruel to the animal, they are not beating them, throwing stones, or doing all that nonsense. But if they just plain and simply they don't like dogs, it could be a childhood trauma. They could have had a bad experience, whatever. And at some point, you don't need to bring out your activist self out and say, "How dare you? How could you? How you can't be judgmental about people who don't love dogs." So they have a right to not like them, and it's their opinion. There is a law, and there is a provision in the law for prevention of cruelty towards animals. And so, as long as that is maintained and they acknowledge that they will not harm any animal, yes, you can't guarantee, but as long as they, you have cameras these days everywhere, so it's unlikely anything will go unnoticed. But as long as they say, look, leave me alone. I don't like dogs and I don't want to. And if you like dogs, that's your call. I think one should make peace. One should make peace and acknowledge um, their preference. It's like, I know it's a different analogy, but just for the sake of analogy, there are people who like vegetarian food and people who don't like vegetarian food. There are people who are only non-vegetarians who don't like anything else, and so one does not need to necessarily belittle the other preference. So that's from a dog lover's standpoint. Now, for those people who do not, on the other side, just because somebody loves dogs or is protective about them, you don't need to look at them with a very different lens, that, oh my god, they're irrational or unreasonable. It's their choice, it's their, and they're doing something that is well within their and all of our constitutional rights. And so one needs to respect, even if you disagree. There is a religious connotation to the conversation as well, and so if it somehow upsets in your religious practices, you can always steer clear as far as possible and let people know that that's what you would like, but don't impose, don't threaten, don't necessarily go, if not this, that else. I've always maintained, and I'll give you another example, an analogy of community living and the compromises that one needs to do while you live in a society and community. It's like, if you want so much of privacy and customization and everything, why don't you go ahead and build yourself a villa, and you can have a bungalow, or a villa somewhere, and you can pretty much have a standalone experience, as it were. But the moment you're in a gated community, or you're in a condominium, or you're in an apartment complex, what have you, then it is expected that there will be some degree of adjustments that one needs to do. Like, we have neighbors who perpetually drill. There's a drilling activity that happens every time, Monday morning, Sunday afternoon, Saturday nights. Every time there's some drilling or the other. There's so much of customization that is going on, and one it begs the question: why would you not go ahead and build yourself a villa? Why are you trying to, at the inconvenience of others, constant inconvenience of others, build yourself a such high degree of customization that it kind of alters the whole thing. But they are well within their rights. On the other side, they say it's my house, so I want to do what I want to do inside, as long as I'm not disrupting, the structure in any way or anything. Any modification, and even though if it's not hurting the central structure of the building to what it was originally built, does cause some kind of instability, and till some shit hits the fan, nobody will know. But when it does, then hindsight is always 2020, and you can always, there will be a blame game going on. Well, you shouldn't have done that, but the damage would have been done. But anyway, the not to sidetrack, it's the same thing with the situation with people who uh, who don't like dogs. When you're living in a community, some bit of adjustment is expected. And if you see that dogs are walking at a particular path, then maybe you want to change that path and walk somewhere else. And also have that conversation that, can you create a space or a area where the dogs can be, so that your path is not disturbed, and it need not be in a activist mode, or you don't need to take out a procession, protesting and all. It's a common matured conversation that needs to be there. And I know it's everybody gets very defensive when their point of view is contradicted, and that's the reason there is many societies which are under duress at this point, each trying to prove the other wrong. That that generally leads to a lot of ill will in our society. As it is, there's so much of tension and pressure and complications and all the geopolitics that is happening. The one place you want some peace is your home, or the area around your home, that at least that area is safe, it's hygienic, it's free from any conflicts. And if you are in a cordial environment, that adds to the pleasure of or the peace to your mind as well. And so the point I'm trying to make here is, even if you don't like dogs, you don't need to make such a big hue and cry about it. Take care, uh, discuss it out, air your opinions. You have a right to air your opinions and concerns, but don't get aggressive about it. Okay, so that's the first category of dog lovers versus non-dog lovers. Now there are subsets of all of these. Now let's focus on the dog lovers first. Like, so the dog lovers, then there are those who are selective dog lovers and part-time dog lovers. Let me explain this, and they are not accurate terms, but I'll explain this to you. Selective dog lovers are those who, I only love my pet, I don't like stray dogs. Okay, well, I don't like stray dogs, but I will feed them. Like, okay, if you want to feed them, do you want to feed them regularly? You don't, you just intermittently? What is it that you want to do? Because once you set a precedent, the animal, the dog, expects uh, that you will be there. That's they are they believe in patterns. Like, whatever the pattern that is set, they follow that pattern. If they get food at 12 in the afternoon, or dinner at 6 p.m., then every day they will come and hover around at that point and sit or bark or whatever. And so if you're not able to manage that consistency despite being a dog lover, then don't feed them, right? So don't feed them. So this selective, I love my pet, but I don't. Then there are this other set of dog lovers who are who got the pet on an impulse. While I was feeling lonely during pandemic, so I got a pet. Lot of people who have got their pets out of misconception. They actually thought that the pet will be this small cute little thing, and then suddenly they grow big, and they don't know what needs. I can't throw them, I can't abandon them, I can't leave them out, and yet I like them to a certain extent, and that I only want the good parts about it, the poop, the pee, the puke. I don't want to look into all of that. That is also not good, and this has a negative impact on the people who don't like dogs, because they observe that, oh, you didn't pick up the poop, you just ignored and thought, oh, it's on the road. No, if there are 50 dogs in a apartment complex, if and I'm almost doing a poop math here. Like if they poop 3 times a day, say that's 200 grams of poop across 50 dogs 3 times a day across 1 month. How are you going to do the waste management? Right? It's not funny. It is something that needs to be taken care of, and many a pet parents turn a blind eye when the dog has pooped and they just move out. And so all those who do that, please, please, please stop doing that. It doesn't create for hygiene. It doesn't make the place smell any better. It is it's something that you've got to take ownership of. It's like your child, right? It's your child. When your child was a baby, they pooped, and then you cleaned it up, right? And so if you have a small puppy or a dog now, they're absolutely helpless. They don't know it, right? And so you can't just say, "Oh, they pooped near the bush, so I don't need to worry." But you have got to pick that poop up and throw it in the right place. And then there has to be provisions for that. That's another matter. And so these are the things that irk many a non-dog lover. They're walking on their morning path and they suddenly stamp on a poop which is left behind, and then everybody looks at everybody. Look, not my dog, not my dog. It must have been the community dog or the stray dog, and so that that seems to be the general case. And so many people bought pets from a society status symbol. Look, I have a Alaskan Husky, or I have a high pedigree dog, and they largely keep them in the balcony, and they become ferocious. They bark, they feel lonely, and they just can't stand it. But they will, anytime anybody else comes, they will wax eloquent about how and there's a degree of hypocrisy there, how much they love dogs and see how beautiful they're. They take them to the salon and all that. And there are a set of dog lovers who are absolutely, penny wise and pound foolish, right? They will not take their dogs to the salon. They will keep them, the dogs, they start to smell, and then they will hose them once in a while, brush them. There are ticks that go on, and so on and so forth. So it is, if you have a dog, you have to have the 360-degree ownership of it. Of course, the loves and cuddles are one part of it, but the hygiene, the medication, the feeding, the walking, all of these form part of their grooming and taking care. And so that is a not a project, it is a way of life that you need to take care of, right? So very, very crucial that you do that. So, and then on the other side, there are those set of people who are non-dog lovers, who harm dogs, who hit pelt stones at them, who sometimes also, I've seen many instances where they hit them with a stick, or or even when they're driving by in a car, they flash lights, and the dog is like completely scared. And so uh, that is absolute. You are being cruel to to someone who cannot immediately retaliate, right? And imagine if the dogs were your size, would you then do the same, like go chase a person your size with a stick and see what happens, right? So very, very important that you sensitize yourself that, yeah, you may not like dogs, but you can't hit them. You have no right to hit them. And so, without belaboring the point, finally, all I would like to say is, we need to make sure that there are provisions to take care of these animals, right? The sensitization of the municipal corporations, the veterinarians, the hospitals, the shelters. Who's going to take care of them, right? And so, yes, you want to relocate community dogs. You have to vaccinate them, neuter them, and control their population in the right way, in the ethical way, without harming them or being cruel to them. Then there needs to be a budget set aside to tackle this problem, because it's no longer something that you can ignore, shove under the carpet, or look away. It is something that is happening at an alarming rate. Love to hear your thoughts on this. If there are any suggestions, comments, what do you think? How's your experience been? Leave your comments below. And clearly share this with, not clearly, share this with those who care, who are sensitive towards these situations, who want to have a non rhetorical, simple take on the conversation, happy to hear you as well. Until we meet next time, this is your host, Ian, and you are listening to Ionisms.